Good morning, Tuesday the 8th of November finds me at Wellington Place. This is Belfast City Hall, and I'm not going in there today. I'm going in to see an exhibition, World War I exhibition that's on here. And this is the exhibition that I'm coming to see here this morning in the Linen Hall Library.
This project examined Irish speakers from East Belfast who enlisted to fight in World War I. 74 soldiers were identified. They lived in the working class communities around Ballymacarrett and worked in the local factories and the shipyard. They included family groups, neighbours and workmates. 3 years before the war, in the 1911 census, all had said they spoke Irish. 17 of them died during the war, 5 at the Battle of the Somme, and most of the others at other parts of France and Flanders, and some as far away as Gallipoli. Many of our soldiers are commemorated at memorials like this one across East Belfast.
Good morning. I'm in the fabulous Linen Hall Library, and there's an exhibition here. It lasts to the end of November, and it's to do with Irish-speaking soldiers from East Belfast who served in World War I. Now, whether these guys were exclusive Irish speakers, were they dual speakers? Did they speak English and Irish whenever the need arose? I don't know. But there were Irish speakers from East Belfast who served in the First World War. This study was based on historical sources. The project researched their lives before and during, and in some cases after the war. This exploratory study identified 74 such soldiers. There's likely to be more. They came from inner East Belfast, from Pottinger, Victoria and part of Ormo. And they included family members, workmates, Catholic and Protestant neighbours who fought alongside each other. Now it's talking about East Belfast here. And I'm going to turn off the sub camera because it's blotting out some of the stuff that you can see. So this was Belfast back then. So how did these folks come to be Irish speakers in East Belfast? Irish language was included in mainstream education. It was also introduced to the curriculum of Catholic teacher training colleges for women in 1902. 1911 census showed large numbers of people living in East Belfast stated that they could speak Irish. Oh, that's interesting. And we all know that today East Belfast is largely regarded as being, exclusively Protestant, but actually that's not true. And there's stuff about the census enigma. Who were some of these guys? And here they are. James Patrick Highland. James Hickland of Tildark Street. James Patrick Highland was from Thorndyke Street. Joseph Kearney, Khartoum Street. Then the various regiments that these guys would have been attached to. Royal Enniskillen Fusiliers, Royal Irish Fusiliers, as well as a number of English, Scottish and Irish regiments. Royal Irish Rifles comprised 36th Ulster Division, which saw action at the Somme. Yeah. All these boys were workmates that joined up and they were employed in places like Harland Wolff or Workman Clark Shipyard or the Rope Works. There are also family groups, 11 in all amongst the soldiers. 9 of these were groups of 2 or more brothers, 1 father and 2 sons, and 1 uncle and a nephew. George Wright, Upper Frank Street. William Spence, one of 2 brothers that survived. He lived in Josephine Street along with his wife. 2 soldiers called John Clark. Tamar Street. Now, the Clark's neighbour David Maxwell also fought. He was a plasterer's helper. And Bernard and Gerald Hughes were the 2 brothers who lived in Cartoon Street. So this is Belfast back then, and this is shows where each of these 74, or a lot of these 74 guys, came from in East Belfast. The aftermath. 56 of the 74 Irish-speaking soldiers returned home after the war. Those who did not are remembered throughout East Belfast, commemorated on murals and rolls of honour. So that means that 18 of them didn't return. 23 soldiers came home wounded, many seriously or permanently disabled. Only 33 soldiers returned to their families physically unscathed. Then there was the Spanish flu, killed over 1,800 people in Belfast, County Borough. It spread, facilitated by the Armistice Day celebration. So, World War I killed so many soldiers and such like, and then the Spanish flu killed a lot more and members of their family. So there's telling us about the Gaelic revival movement. Early 20s political violence surged in East Belfast. It was centred on the shipyards between 1920 and 22. 465 people died and over 1,000 were injured in sectarian riots across the city. Belfast has always had a history of violence and trouble. Talking again about Bernard Hughes and Hugh McGurrian, who lived in Short Strand. Many of those who did come home continued to live at the same address they'd had before the war. It's possible that some of these soldiers that served in World War I moved out to places like the Earl Haig Estate, Craigie Colony, just off the Craigie Road. One of these purpose-built developments for ex-soldiers. Some of them resumed their former work. Some of them were so badly disabled that they received from the war wounds that they never worked again. David Maxwell's widow was awarded a pension of £1, 8 shillings and 9pence per week for herself and her 4 young children. That wasn't an awful lot. Better than nothing, mind you. The legacy found his seat. Many of their descendants of these 74 guys continue to live and work in the area. Some of these are re-engaging with part of their ancestors' legacy by learning Irish in Tourists, the Irish language project in East Belfast Mission. This tells you the story of James Ray, who lived in Lisavon Street, 1911, but moved to Steens Row before the war. Well, this is a relative. This is Lisa Ray Curry. Came across my great-great-grandfather James Ray on a census about 10 years ago. I was fascinated to see he was recorded as speaking Irish. As I found out more about my family history, it became clear that our notions of identity, language and place are often not as static as what we would assume. This tells you about the Irvine family lived in Frome Street. John Sr. died 1924, aged 52, buried in Dundonald. And this is Brian Irvine, my old mate. dear. I didn't realise that this was Brian. Had written this. I am full of admiration for the personal bravery and self-sacrifice of my grandfather and 2 uncles who fought in World War I. Nevertheless, I am deeply troubled by the bloody carnage and sense of futility and waste during that conflict. And many times since, well, isn't that the truth, Brian? From the beginning of time, the tapestry of human history has dripped blood. Thankfully, our search for mutual understanding and respect can help mitigate the darkness. And with thanks to Jason Burke, Gordon McCoy, Tourists, Derek Smith, Nigel Henderson, Research at History Hub Ulster, Stephen O'Dearden, James Banford, and Proney. There we are there. I missed these. Here's the story of Bernard Joseph Hughes. And this is the story of Edward Armstrong. It says quite clearly that Edward and Mary were Irish speakers. It doesn't say that they could speak English, I don't know. But presumably they could. I'm presuming. I might be wrong. And here's another one. This is Gerald King. He's just a young fella. And I believe whenever you joined up that in some of the theatres of battle, some of the fronts, your life expectancy was you know, catalogued in weeks, never mind months. The flower of Ulster, mowed down by German machine guns. Dreadful. But this exhibition here tells the story of those guys who were Irish speakers in East Belfast, and this is not widely known, it has to be said.
East Belfast continues to evolve and grow. Our community is rich in diversity, and the legacy of our Irish-speaking soldiers lingers here still.
And that was Bruna McShane, and on camera, Camel O'Connell. Come and see this exhibition for yourself.